ahead. Let's go have fun, bro. We ain't got to talk about too much. He wants to play the ball. It's holding. What is that not called? Somebody gonna call a damn thing. What is the delay for? He's standing right there. He's taking a card out. He's a piece of paper. It's that close.
Hello and welcome. We're the Aussie Guys. I'm AJ. Here with me is G and our special guest again, Ben Harler. How you doing?
Mate, he's one of the Aussie guys.
One of the
with
furniture.
An accent.
That's
We have an accent compared to him.
that's right.
He's living in a country full of accents.
I feel like I've graduated from, the poor soul that you've dragged off the street to at least the kennel in the back garden. That's where I'm currently, I think, sitting.
Yeah, well, AJ actually mentioned it's a bit like a stray dog. You get this stray dog. It's a bit of a mutt. It's probably 5 different breeds in one. It's looking a bit skanky. But you take it in.
It's on, bum.
Yeah, and it loves you to death.
Absolutely.
So, okay, now for tonight, AJ,
Yes.
we got this. Okay?
What's that?
Start it.
5-minute
So we-
timer.
So,
For what?
So we can try and finish within an hour, which would be really good.
But what's the 5 minutes got to do with anything?
Mate, whatever we're talking about, no matter what subject we're on, once it hits 5, we're going to move on.
Okay, well, let's start by talking about the Thursday night football game between Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers. No, not the Pittsburgh Steelers. No, the Tennessee Titans it would be. And the Colts proved an interesting adage, and that is that if you have a dominant defense, you can have a poor quarterback and still actually win games.
Look, that's not entirely fair. Like I'm not the biggest fan of Philip Rivers at this point in his career. And look, he was great in the first half. He was very good in the first half. And then, as it seems to be with him, it drops away in the second half, especially from a fantasy point of view. Like I didn't play him in one of our leagues. I'm actually playing Ben this week, and I didn't start him. I've looked up, and he's almost like 13 points. And geez, here we go. He's going to hit 24. Just like, and then he ends up with only 16.
Yes.
So he puts on another, I don't know, it might have been 4 or 3 point whatever for the second half. But the whole game, that wasn't his fault. It's just the game changed.
Yes.
Especially with that really poor punt that went,
5 yards or something?
17 yards or whatever it was, off the side of the boot type stuff. And that changed. After that, the game was never the same for the Titans. And then they got the block punt was the next one up, back for a touchdown. So it was just, it was all down. It's downhill.
There was a key moment, actually. I think it was maybe start of the second quarter. And, Tannehill, who absolutely battered all night, took so many hits and licks. Actually, perfect pass down the sideline to A.J. Brown. Juggled it, should have caught it, really. And it fell out of bounds. And he was away. If he'd have caught that, he's away. Yep. The Titans are, 14-3 up, and they can lean on Henry. But, the game didn't happen. He should have caught it. Didn't happen, and it did change at that moment as well.
It's all the shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Oh, yeah. Story of my life.
Mine should have just been. It's not woulda, coulda.
Shouldn't have.
Actually, no.
Yeah.
That's shouldn't have. That's the one. Don't tell your mother. Okay?
A couple of stories out of the game. One Michael Pittman Jr.
Hey, he looks good.
7 receptions, 122 yards. So a bit of a breakout game this week. And Nyheim Hines, who I did actually start in a couple of leagues, not because I knew this game was coming, but just out of necessity. Yes. He's been a bit hard to trust. After week 1, he's been a bit up and down. The floor for Hines is 0. And the ceiling seems to be like, well, today, 115 yards and 2 touchdowns.
It was about 26 fantasy for today?
Correct.
Yep.
And it just sort of, I think it's a bit game script dependent. So, if the game breaks a certain way, Nyheim Hines is the perfect back for Philip Rivers. And something else in the mix, guys, be interested in your opinion. Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
Hey, Matt.
Matt, how you going? Yes. What about him?
Yeah. What about him?
I think that sums it up, doesn't it? What about him? He's the forgotten man in offense that everybody thought he was going to be the man, really.
He's been disappointing. That's not overstating things. When Nyheim Hines is your leading running back and looks infinitely better, now Hines looked fantastic, then I think that sort of says something, and certainly with not time to give up on Jonathan Taylor at this stage. I'm not saying that, but certainly disappointing.
Interestingly enough, what you said, AJ, Hines leading the rushing. He also came into the week leading the Colts in receptions as well, which is just phenomenal, really, when you think about the wide receiver room there. I mean, I know Pittman struggled with injuries as well, so we have to note that. But yeah, in terms of Jonathan Taylor, obviously Mac got the early work, and that's fine.
Is that the timer?
But as soon as you got injured, you think, all right, he's just going to take that stuff. And then I think straight away, I remember watching it, because I have a few shares of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, what the hell is Jordan Wilkins doing getting carries? Like, seriously, what is that? Like, I don't understand.
Or even in garbage time, was it Donta Foreman?
Oh, that's for the Titans. Though.
That's for the Titans.
Oh, it was too. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So, geez, you're doing well tonight. Donta Foreman on the Colts, and the Colts are playing Pittsburgh.
Matt asks, I'm about 2 for 5 at the moment. That's my completion percentage.
Funny enough, in a game where, the Titans quickly needed their big guys to step up, I think I was just looking earlier at this, between Donta Foreman and Jeremy Nichols, they took 11 carries and 3 receptions away from Derrick Henry.
Wow.
I don't understand why.
Yeah,
no.
Why?
I mean, we know.
Donta Foreman just kept running into the line.
Yes, he did. At that point, I think they'd given up. But look, I think that if we know, it's a fair proposition to say that the Titans coaching staff know that Derrick Henry is the kind of guy that runs downhill. You need to give him 20 carries. Give him 20 to plus carries. And, I mean, he got 100 yards. I don't know how many total carries he had. But as you said, they certainly took a lot of carries off him.
I think it got to a point where on one of the drives, I can't remember because I was just watching. I wasn't really writing anything down. I was just watching it just for the sake of watching it for a game.
Yeah.
And they used him on the drive like constantly, and then nothing came of it. And I think that was like, okay, the night's finished for us. And you didn't really see him after that.
No.
That was like, okay, we know the gig's up. Let's not pound him for no apparent reason.
Yep. Okay, next topic.
Yes.
Have we seen the arrival of Tua?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about have we seen the arrival of Kalen Ballage?
He's back on the practice squad, G.
I was going to say, we've seen the departure as well. So.
He's gone back on the practice squad?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking of starting him, forget it.
I went and picked him up.
No.
I didn't know he went back on the practice squad.
Yes.
I haven't been, so for what particular reason has he gone back on his practice squad just quickly?
Because he's terrible.
Bullshit. He was far better than Joshua Kelly in this game.
I know. Joshua Kelly looked disappointing. Joshua Kelly
is very disappointing.
Yeah, he is.
And he looks, compared to when you look at Kalen Ballage on the field, he looks slow. Kalen Ballage, and mate, for whatever Kalen Ballage is, that's not a good sign for Joshua Kelly.
No.
Kalen Ballage looks more explosive. He's got better movement, changes direction, acceleration. Josh Kelly's get it. 45-degree cut, and whatever's in front of me, I can't do it. I can't cut twice. I'm just going to run into the guy that's in front of me. That's what it looks like.
Yes. Oh, you know what? I realised
he was already being overshadowed by Justin anyway. I presume he's now active this week. And AJ, is that the
Justin Jackson? I don't think Justin Jackson's active.
All right.
So why is he on the practice squad? What, you're going to run with Joshua Kelly this week again? I don't understand.
And Troy Maine Pope. I believe.
Okay.
Just talk about stuff for a minute. I realised I didn't tweet the actual show link out, so just talk about stuff.
So what was that?
Let's talk about the question, G.
Tua. Yep.
The one thing that struck me, G, and I don't know if you thought this, because his first game was obviously against the Rams, so yes. Tough defense, particularly up front. They're going to give a lot of different looks. They put him under a lot of pressure. Not so much last week, but where he really excelled was on the move, like throwing on the move, hitting his receivers downfield, 20, 30 yards, just taking big chunks. I think it was something like 4 drives for 8+ plays and 60, 70 yards. Like he really moved the six well, and that was because of his sort of movement, which for, a guy who did a lot of that at college anyway, was good to see that rhythm.
I'm very interested in your opinion, G. He's 2 for 2. Not that means anything.
No, mate, I wouldn't put down the first game as for him. But anyway.
But
and honestly, in this game, he looked good, but I don't think he was the reason. He's not the reason that the Dolphins won the football.
His numbers were pretty good.
His numbers were fine.
Yeah. What did you think, though? Honest opinion?
Who's he playing against? Who's he playing against last weekend?
Arizona.
Yeah, mate, you go. I'm sorry, it's hard to compare somebody who moves around after you watch Kyler Murray play against him. Like Kyler Murry's just he's zipping around everywhere.
Yep, that's right.
And then he makes Tua look slow. No, mate, that's harsh to say, but mate, Kyler Murray's just he zips. I don't know if he's moving that quick. He just takes a lot of real little steps. But he does. And then you watch Tua, I thought Tua would be a lot quicker mobility-wise. But maybe that's just because I've just gone and watched Kyler Murray run around like a maniac.
Yeah.
And the way that he does it.
Yes.
But he did keep pace with him last week. And this was with a backfield of Jordan Howard and Salvon Ahmed. So, I feel like you've got to give him some credit for, and he lost Preston Williams. Preston Williams was injured as well in the second quarter. So, to bring them back and lead a drive was great.
No, it is. And look at Arizona's defense is
a little bit suspect.
It is for something that has the playmakers that it does. It's not a defense you're scared.
No,
is it when you go up against them?
No, certainly isn't.
Especially in fantasy, when I see Arizona on there, I'm not worried about putting players on the park against them at the moment.
No, in this season of swings and roundabouts, looks like we're going to get Nick Chubb back this week.
Woohoo!
After having CMC back last week and him balling out, looks like we're missing him again. This is kind of the nature of the season, though. What's that, G?
I got him for 1 week.
Yeah, that's right. I hope you've got Mike Davis. And I hope you didn't drop Mike Davis. If anyone dropped Mike Davis in a league and can't get him back, then that would hurt. But yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. I'm just reading here that they're hopeful that CMC will be back week 11.
Okay, so Chris Ganley's just put up the 2020. I take it the 2020 Kyler Murray is ahead of
2019.
A 2019 Lamar Jackson.
Oh, really?
I'm guessing is that for rushing production? Or
I suppose that'd be for yardage. I'd take it. Yeah, it's definitely not like Murray at the moment ranked 12th amongst quarterbacks for passing yards.
Okay.
So I looked it up today. That's one of my stats I'll bring up tonight. Well, I've just brought it up. But I was on to bring it up later, but too late.
Sounds like we've got similar thoughts here, G.
We might have.
But AJ, the interesting thing is Kareem Hunt really hasn't done anything special in Chubb's absence, and he almost looks. I think that backfield's better with them both in there.
So
I think it's really a positive for Hunt as well.
I think the week after Chubb left, you saw Kareem Hunt have like a really good game. Go, here we go. He's going to take over this backfield, and it just hasn't happened, which is great for me because I have a ton of shares of Nick Chubb.
Yep.
But yeah, it just hasn't happened. They're a better. Maybe what we saw at Kansas City was the best of Kareem Hunt. What's the offensive line like in Cleveland?
Not amazing. I mean, they've spent a bit of money on it.
Good enough.
Good enough. Yeah,
I think it is.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it is. Well,
if you're a very good running back, a good enough offensive line should be enough. Is all you need.
Yes.
They brought in the guy last year who was at the Titans who really needed him today. I forget him. First round pick. What's his name? Offensive lineman.
Mate,
Taylor Luan.
Oh, okay. I was going to say offensive linemen are like kickers. Not for running backs. No, of course not. I just don't know any.
Okay, a bit of a question mark this season on Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
In a story this week, Lamar said that the defenses are calling out the Ravens' offensive plays at the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
Which, if you're a quarterback, well, you audible, you change the plays, you improvise, and you think Lamar is like the king of improvisation.
Mate, you'd like to think that if they know the play that you'd change it and just go, well, we'll just run with it and we'll just hope that we're better.
Yes. Lamar's obviously down in most statistical categories, down in completion percentage, down in touchdowns, down in rushing. What do we think about Lamar and his struggles?
I still don't think he's still got a ways to go as a passer. And I think eventually you can't be a quarterback and rely on rushing all the time. And eventually he's going to catch up with Kyler Murray as well. And I think Kyler Murray's going to find it exactly the same. Eventually teams are not allow you to do it. And they're going to they've worked out that Lamar Jackson would rather him throw the ball than run.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Murray's ahead of Jackson, though, in that sense. I mean, even last week, the Cardinals really struck. I think they basically took DeAndre Hopkins out of the game a bit last week, and Murray still managed to. I mean, Christian Kirk had another great day, and Larry Fitzgerald's always there for kind of the safety blanket. So I think Murray can move the chains in that intermediate much better than Jackson can. Jackson can throw the deep ball, no problem. But the intermediate, no chance.
I still think Kyler Murray has a problem throwing over the top of his offensive line. I think he's always going to have that. He's got to get out of the pocket to throw the ball, or he's going to throw it between the passes. Mate, you can't rely on that all the time.
No. Andrew's put up here, Dak Prescott still has more yards than Cousins, Minshew, Mayfield, and Jackson. That's amazing. Is Lamar a buy in Dynasty at the moment?
Not for me. I wouldn't be buying him.
What are you doing? I've been trying to flog Lamar Jackson to AJ, and you've just turned around and gone, no.
The answer was yes.
We continued this call for about an hour and a half last week after the show, talking about the exact thing. So I'm not going to let you get away with it. No, he's not a guy for me. There's too many good quarterbacks coming as well. You've seen how rookie quarterbacks this year who are more pure pocket passers, like Herbert, like Burrow, even Tua, I think, is a better passer. There's more coming. Why would you go and spend a lot of capital going to get Lamar Jackson? He's going to be more than one first, isn't he? Probably.
Does he need more targets? This John Brown's, he's cracked the sads pretty much. It's almost to the point that not John Brown, Marquise Brown. Sorry, Hollywood Brown.
Oh yeah, Hollywood Brown.
It's almost got to the point where he sounds like he just wants out already. And who else has he got there? He's got Willie Snead,
Miles Boykin,
Miles Boykin, who they hardly use. Maybe Miles Boykin's not going to be what some people thought.
No, Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews.
He's the one consistent guy that he seems to find quite easy.
But Mark Andrews is having a very down year. Obviously, everything's linked, but...
Yeah, I think it is. It's not just one thing. I think if you look at some of Lamar Jackson's throws on the weekend are just... Mate, it's great that you can get it down there, at 150 miles an hour, but mate, you got to get it within an area that your receivers can catch it.
Maybe this is just the. Look, we often see this. I mean, it's not called sophomore slump for nothing. We often see it. Although this isn't sophomore, is it? This is third year?
Third year, yeah.
Third. But technically sophomore, like he was proper starting last year.
Yeah.
So, it's not unusual to go through this kind of growing pains. I mean, he had such a successful year last year. He was only going to come down.
Football.
Yes. Yeah.
And he doesn't run. They don't let him get to the edges now.
No.
Teams are awake. Keep him in the pocket.
Yep.
Do we have to rush him? No. We just keep him in the pocket and make him throw the football.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we saw that in the playoff game against the Titans, didn't we? As soon as the Titans went up big, he couldn't get them back. And I think we talked about this maybe last week about, how them and the Niners, didn't really address the fact they don't have that number one receiver, that guy that can go move the sticks or go up and get a contested ball, like your DK Metcalfs, your Hopkins, etc. Like, they don't have that. They went out and drafted similar guys to what they had, like Duvernay and guys like that. Like, it doesn't.
Speed guys.
Yeah, you can't run a 1 or 2 dimensional offense. You've got to have more ways to win, and that's what I think Lamar's struggling with.
How many teams in the NFL have no number one wide receiver or like dominant guy and are good?
Well, I mean, if you look at all the teams that are currently sort of in the playoffs, there's not many that don't, right? So,
and in addition,
yeah.
and kind of, I know I'll bury the lead a little bit as to what our topic is, although we did tweet it out. But when I was going through and looking at wide receivers in draft rounds, there's not many wide receivers that weren't in the first or second round.
Mate, it was hard to find a receiver after the second round,
right,
to put into what we're going to do.
Yeah, yes, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
It was damn hard, and so then it kind of makes you think maybe there's something to this, which is like, of course, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
you're going to have the 1 or 2 guys that people will bring up.
Yeah,
but over the amount of wide receivers that get taken over the draft,
yes,
it's tiny, minuscule.
You go through all the leaders at most of the, don't forget about quarterback, but all the leaders at running back and wide receiver, and the bulk of them are first or second rounders.
Yes.
And it's interesting, particularly the guys, who aren't your prototypical, ex-receiver or, guy on the outside. The guys that, like are the speed guys, like, your Deebo Samuels and your Brandon Ayuk, how many of those guys are, soft tissue injuries, hamstrings, calves, because, you stood on the sidelines a lot and then you've got to run, stupid mile an hour in cold weather usually, and then you stop again for 10 minutes and you got to start again because it's not, that's not what you need, if you're a sprinter or whatever, that you warm up once, big burst, cool down, don't do anything for a few days. Like,
these fast twitch muscle guys seem to be on the injured list more than your bigger sort of receivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you DK Metcalf.
Like your big slower guys, that run like 0.3 seconds slower over 40. Like my point, it's like 2 steps. Like really,
But DK doesn't come off the field.
Exactly what you say.
DK doesn't come off the field, does he? Hardly.
And look at you got those small. You got guys like, look at the smaller guys that seem to last, and the smaller guys that aren't the quick dudes. Like the 40 guys that they might be the more the nimble sort of guys. You like your Edelmans and your Tyler Lockett's and these smaller guys. Your Hunter Renfrow, mate, not the quickest guys, mate. Small, agile, but not 40 speed sort of blokes. And they don't, mate. They're all right. They're out there every week.
Yeah. Yep.
Basically, Edelman's missed a few this year, but mate,
he's getting on. How many seasons?
Mate, the dude's got more pounding than I've ever seen a wide receiver take.
Oof, I'm glad you said that. You could have gone in a different direction there. So, we could have gone a bit blue, but we didn't, which is good. So,
which are the like me. I usually take those opportunities.
Well, I could have said that he often gets double teamed as well, but I didn't think that'd be right either.
So, our topic this evening.
Our topic this evening. So this was what's that? Tame Jeets. Yeah, sorry, again, I'll let you down.
Very.
It's a bit. I've been a little bit tamer now that I've got a camera in front of my face. It's a lot easier if I just put, and then I can go all blue. I don't have to worry about it. Like when we're in the studio, we're not doing it live.
There's a one-word explanation for that. There's a one-word explanation. Litigation.
Litigation, yeah. Mate, I'd be a really good porn star if you just didn't film anything that I was doing. I'd be great. That'd be great.
Just in the dark. You just have the audio.
Yeah, there we go.
Although I can't imagine that being...
Just sounds like I'm doing really well.
That's right. And then someone turns the light on and you're just by yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway...
do my best. That's what I say. The amount of jobs I'll be working at, and people will walk in and go, "Do you want a light on? Do you need some more, more light ambience?" I go, "Best work." I do my best work in the dark. I don't care who the client is, if they know me or don't know me that well. Some of them get it.
Yeah.
Some of them just, okay. All right.
Straight through the keeper.
Yeah, straight through the keeper.
So a big thank you to Andrew Campy, who sent this idea through to us.
Which was a couple of weeks ago when we were coming up with more ideas for our teams each week.
And it's not easy, as I sort of alluded to just before. So, G, pitch what it is.
Yeah, so what it is we put together a team like we do every week, as we have been this year. And this week's team is based on draft position. So we have the usual lineup, quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receivers, tight end, and this week we have a flex because we're going to combine 7th round and undrafted free agent into one. So what you do is you have to pick a player from each round. So once that round's gone, you can no longer use that round. Even though it's a different position, doesn't matter, that round's gone. So every player on this list has come from one of the 7 rounds, including undrafted free agent. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well enough?
Well, makes sense to me.
Okay.
And, gee, I'd be interested just before we kick off what your
it was bloody hard.
Yeah. What did you sort of think straight away, as you would kind of do in a fantasy draft, where you go, well, I'm going to use my first round on quarterbacks because they're the... No. Did you not think of that?
No,
did you not start there? No. Yeah. That's what I did. I started there because I just knew, particularly recently, with we let's give Neil his moment in the sun. Scotland qualified for the European Championships in football for the first time since William Wallace was alive yesterday.
Wow.
Well done.
Well done, Scotland and Neil.
Well, you got to take advantage of COVID, don't you? Like when the good teams are getting all COVID and the weaker teams, this is their opportunity.
Was that Mel Gibson? Is that William Wallace?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think they beat some island off of Malta or something. Not somewhere to win. So well done.
22 years. Good work.
22 years.
Good work. I had to wait like 30. What did I have to wait? 39 years or whatever it was for the Tigers to win the first grand final. So don't complain about 22, Neil. He's a sook, mate. That bloke.
I went with quarterback because and it came out of the options. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. There's so many of them in recent years that have redefined fantasy production in particular, and that's why I started there.
Oh, see, I because the first thing that came to me was Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott. Well, Dak Prescott obviously injured, but Russell Wilson taken in third, I think. Third round. Yeah. So that made me think, okay, well, if I can get a better wide receiver or running back in the first for this week, I'll look at doing that. So, but I ended up not doing that because the way my team I started writing down players.
Yeah.
And so I had a group of players in the first round, a group of players in the second, a group of players in the third. And then it started to get a little bit harder.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And harder and easier, actually, because the less players in the 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th round, the good players stand out. So you just take them anyway. So it was easier that way. I just found harder in the first 2 or 3 rounds is to try and put together a team because there are so many good players in the first and second round to use.
Yeah.
Which ones am I going to put together on my list this week to make a team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a note for all the GMs in the NFL that watch this show every week. Don't ever trade up into the 4th round because it never works out.
It's a wasteland.
The 4th round is death trap.
It is. For whatever reason, it is a wasteland. But the interesting thing is just the amount of players in the first 3 rounds especially that you see having successful NFL careers, and it's telling. It is
I
really
just-
telling.
I just put it down to the fourth round is where you sort of get your offensive lineman, maybe a defensive guy that could be something.
Probably. Yep.
You're not taking your skill position players in the fourth round.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So, all right. So who won? Ben, as always, mate, you're the guest. So I think we're going to basically, you and I, sounds like we have the same first round guy. So, who's that? Well, who's your quarterback?
So, I mean, it was a bit of a toss-up, if I'm honest. I sort of looked at a few extra stats around it and really focused on the fantasy aspect that sort of tilted it this way. But I went Kyler Murray. It was going to be either him or Josh Allen. Obviously, I think we've already touched upon the season that Kyler Murray's having. And the thing for me is he's not only has he topped 500 yards already on the ground, he's also got 8 rushing touchdowns, which is just phenomenal. Like that, that is crazy. And even Josh Allen's the nearest one to him with 5, and he's only got 241 yards.
No, Cam's got 8.
Oh, is he? Oh,
He
was too far down. I was looking at the top.
He's probably too far down.
Yeah, I was looking at the top 5 fantasy. So that's
Yeah. Oh, look, I went Kyler Murray as well because he's against the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills' defense this year is just like a soft glow light compared to what they were, the brightness that they were last season. And they're giving up 19, almost 20 fantasy points to quarterbacks. Yeah, he was the first overall pick out of Oklahoma. So, look, he's averaging a tick above 29 fantasy points a week. What's wrong, AJ?
You're both absolutely mental.
He's averaging 29 fantasy points a week. No other quarterbacks.
Well, I picked a first-round quarterback as well, but you keep going.
He has rushed for a TD in every game bar one, and one game he ran 2. So basically, he's averaging a rushing touchdown a game. Okay, granted, he's 12th in passing yards. He's 12th in TDs, passing TDs.
12th, wow.
He's first in rushing yards.
Yep.
With 543. I think he's ranked in the I'm just off the top of my head, maybe in the top 20 running backs at the moment. He's first in rushing TDs, as Ben said, with 8. And the Bills have allowed 7 QBs to be top 12 finishers so far this year.
They've allowed 6 of those quarterbacks to score at least multiple passing touchdowns.
Exactly right, yeah.
So, he's got a great matchup.
So, and they've also allowed 4 rushing TDs to quarterbacks.
Well, let's throw it to AJ because he's been looking like he's been watching like SBS Croatian news for the last. Looking quite confused and looking around to whether he's subtitles on. So.
Listen, okay. It's not sort of the gap is not so wide, but I didn't go Kyler Murray, and I know that he has more points, more fantasy points on the season, but I don't see very hard to go past Aaron Rodgers, who I picked as my first round quarterback, picked in the 2005 NFL draft, picked 24, and they are at Jacksonville, that powerhouse defensive team, and he has 24-2 TD to int ratio.
Well, they're at home, aren't they, against Jacksonville?
Oh, I don't think so. I think they're away.
No? Are they away?
I think so.
They're at Lambeau.
Yeah.
They're at Lambeau. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Some of us do research. That's a good pick. I can't argue with that one. Give us a few reasons why.
I can't argue with... Look, Kyler Murray definitely has the fantasy points on the board. There's no doubt. And I could have gone that way. But I think Aaron Rodgers, I think the Jacksonville matchup in particular... Who did you say Kyler has this week?
The Bills. But the matchup's just good. And the thing that when I was looking at multiple TD scores as well, Rodgers has thrown for at least 3 passing touchdowns in 6 of 8 games, and he's had 4 games with 4 passing touchdowns, which is just
insane.
Just ridiculous. Given that the fact, the Packers didn't give him any target to throw to.
His receiving core, it's insane. I mean, obviously Devontae Adams is having I shouldn't say a career year. He's having an amazing year. It may be a career year. But when you think of who else is, I mean, MVS has gotten a little bit, not much. I mean, there's not a lot happening. Robert Tonyan's got a little bit. Alan Lazard, I think, might be back this week. I think that's a possibility. Obviously, Aaron Jones is having a good year. He gets a fair number of targets as well from Rodgers, but there's nothing else. There's literally nothing else.
I mean, I think it's what he's got though is I think he's got a better balance than he has had in previous years.
I agree.
Jamal Williams has looked a bit better at as a pass catching guy. So yeah, I think I did consider Rodgers, but I thought if I'm going to use my first round pick on a quarterback, I need someone who can do it on the ground as well as in the...
Okay, that's a fair call. And I must confess that I did start out like I saw someone mention Tom Brady. Tom Brady's kind of like the obvious pick, and Russell Wilson's another sort of obvious one. And I started off thinking Russell Wilson because I thought, that's clever. Let's get a quarterback that wasn't a first-round quarterback. But then when you go, that third round pick is pretty valuable because it's very hard to fill the other positions if you use it. Or mind you, I mean, I've used the first on the quarterback. I could have used the sixth, Tom Brady. But again, we're going
to play this week. After what we saw Tom Brady, that performance he put up last week, especially that last interception, was just like, I've had nothing. I'm packed up and gone home. That was just poor. I don't care. You're a professional. I don't care how long you've been in the league. You know better than I don't care if you've been hit all day. You take the sack.
Yes.
You take the hit or you go down if you want to do that. You don't throw the ball. Mate, that wasn't even a throw. That was just like shooting a 3-pointer from the middle of, from halfway mark and just putting it up. It was poor.
Hey, listen, just as a bit of a segue, the Bucks, they were absolutely cooking. You think of how Ronald Jones was playing, and then you bring Fournette in, right, into the mix. I'm talking about like a few weeks ago, Ronald Jones was on a tear. So what you do is you bring Fournette in, you shake that up, and then you go down the toilet. You also were absolutely cooking with Mike Evans. I mean, Godwin's been in and out. He's been not doing so well from the health perspective. But now you bring Antonio Brown into the mix. Like, why are you messing with the chemistry? Something that a machine that was working incredibly well. I mean, not just moving along, but performing at an incredibly high level. Oh, there's AB. We'll just grab him. Like, this feels like so stupid.
Yeah, I think let me bring out the old book again. One of the things that strikes me about this is there's a passage where Bruce Arians, I think he's talking about Carson Palmer, and he's saying that basically to every quarterback he's ever coached, he said, on first down, if you've got a big shot and it's a risky throw, take it. That's basically what he said to him, and he said it to all his quarterbacks. And what it looked like on Monday night was like literally every down was that was applied. Like it looked like he was just reckless, like 100% reckless. But I mean, he doesn't call the plays. I think Byron left plays,
right? So. Yeah.
But still, Brady, I think, could take full responsibility. Absolutely.
But I wonder about the merits of you've got something that's working, and then you just bring other pieces in. Oh, let's grab this. Let's grab that.
It's like playing fantasy football, and you've gone and grabbed the guy based on his name, not on his grip, of what he's done lately.
Yeah, I mean, Fournette's not playing well.
No, but what you do is you bring Fournette in. Okay, Fournette's a good relief pitcher.
Yes.
And that's what you use him as.
Yep. But it looked like...
You don't try and blend the whole thing together.
No.
And there might come a point where RG... I was going to call him. There's Ronald Jones, Rojo's not looking that good, and Fournette, you give him a bit bigger role.
Sure, but that game, so Rojo had that. It was a bad pass by Brady. Rojo sort of juggled it. he sort of caught it low. He was down on his knee, I think, and that's when he was standing up because he was thinking, "Oh hell, might be able to get a couple more yards."
He tried to stand up and turn at the same time. The ball wasn't properly secured.
Correct.
Yeah.
And for that, he went to the doghouse.
Yeah.
And prior to that, he had really shown something. Like, I think we now know Rojo is a back. He definitely is a decent back.
100+ yard games. He looked like he was, solid out the backfield, quick, picking his lanes really well. Maybe it's a bit of old school though, AJ. That's what I mean. It's Arians. If a running back fumbles, get him in the doghouse.
That's Arians.
Nowadays, progressive guys like your Matt LaFleurs and stuff will just give Aaron Jones back the ball the next carry, and he'll go down the field and score a touchdown. I think it is the coaching.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, all right, G, we'll move on.
So we all used our first round pick.
We did. We did.
Yes, I tried to not use it on the quarterback, but it's
too tempting.
When I ducked out of the room before, I was trying to find. I wrote them all down on a piece of paper, like all the plays, and I was going to say why I went for a player and who was the other one, but I can't find it now. Hopefully, it'll come to me with it. So anyway, RB Ben, where'd you go and who'd you go with, and what round did he drafted in?
Homer pick for me, and you can't blame me. The second round out of Florida State Seminoles, Dalvin Cook, who has been out of this world in the last 4 weeks. Broken, I think it was 7 franchise records over the last 2 games for all kinds of things, like consecutive 200+ scrimmage yard games, multiple TDs, you name it, he broke it. And a bit of love to the rebuilt Vikings offensive line, which is looking very good now. Ezra Cleveland, a tackle. G, there you go, learn his name.
Is there any fantasy points attached to offensive linemen? No? Don't worry about it.
We're doing offensive linemen later, aren't we? Flex offensive linemen?
Yeah.
But also, blocking guys like your Kyle Rudolphs, Herb Smith Jr. we'll talk about Alvaro, but for me, I think watching Dalvin Cook run the ball is probably the most exciting thing in the NFL.
Certainly, the moment it is, he is looking amazing. And when you said what was the phrase you used? You said he broke. I thought you were going to go like he broke the spirit of many defensive backs over the last several weeks. That would have also been accurate. Man, he has been absolutely on fire. Can't fault you there. I mean, man.
No, that's a good pick. That's not who I went for, though. AJ, who'd you grab?
Well, I picked you'll know straight away. I picked a running back from the 3rd round instead of the 2nd round. I'll tell you. You tell me. I'll tell you where he was picked. 3rd round, pick 3 in the 2017 NFL Draft.
Yes.
By the New Orleans Saints, and that obviously is
Alvin Kamara.
Yes. Who currently tops the NFL with 1,080 all-purpose yards, leads all running backs with 72 targets, 9 targets per game, 60 catches, 565 receiving yards, and 3 scores. And this week up against the 49ers defense, that they're struggling across the board. About the only guy who's doing well is Fred Warner.
The run defense aren't that bad. Because you have guys like Fred Warner in the middle.
Well, they're middling, 16th against the run, but they have allowed the 5th most receptions to the running back position.
Okay.
So there you go. And he has been absolutely lights out amazing as well. Like Cook, if you went into an NFL draft, redraft this year and you picked one of Kamara or Cook, you're very happy. There's no doubt.
Yes. And that's put to me by Ben. Was it last week or the week before? Who would I take if in a region? And I took Kamara. And then 2 weeks later, the last 2 weeks, you see what Dalvin Cook, and I was watching him. Thinking about your question, going, I don't know, I might have to change my mind a little bit. It looks fantastic. And when you're running away, but he's running away from Trufant, so it's not exactly you know, you haven't got speed chasing you, there's a reason, you know. But
AJ, the interesting thing about Kamara is, you know, if you look at the split there between rushing and receiving, he's actually got more receiving yards than he has rushing yards.
Yep.
So he's got 565 receiving, 471 rushing. Dalvin Cook has 858 rushing and only 173 receiving.
Right.
Cook's got 13 TDs, Kamara's got 8, and Kamara's played one game. Interesting to see the split, I think, there between those two guys.
Yeah, and look, Kamara was always like this when Drew Brees had a little bit more left in the tank. But we could see this coming. There's some things that I think pan out sometimes, and you think, why didn't I think of this? Because it's bloody obvious that Kamara would get so many receptions in this sort of offense with a quarterback of Drew Brees' age. You know, it makes perfect sense.
And no Michael Thomas.
And yeah, well, that helps as well.
Oh, just a little. Yeah,
just a little.
That, you know, like something like, what was it, like 44, 48% of every ball that was thrown in the air last year went to Michael Thomas.
Right.
You know, so.
Exactly.
Okay.
AJ, Dalvin Cook,
yeah.
Okay, so he basically has 144.
This is not a Viking show, Ben.
I'm making a point, G. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
He has 144 rushing attempts.
We're doing a lot better than Trump's lawyers in court at the moment, then.
Yeah, he's got 144 rushing attempts. The closest running back in Minnesota to him, Alexander Madison, has 69 rushing attempts. Okay,
Yes.
Of which nearly 25 of those was in one game, the game that he missed. Alvin Kamara has only 96 rushing attempts, and the second guy there, another ex-Viking in
Latavius
Murray, 81 rushing attempts.
Wow.
Only 15 less. So if you give half of those to Alvin Kamara, it could be lights out, right? It could be an extra 30, 40 fantasy points on top of what he's got already. So is there a potential there, or do you think they'll always use a guy like Murray a bit more?
I think they just use him just in a different way, and they use him smarter in the fact that he's a smaller guy than Dalvin Cook. He's not as compact as Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
And they've got Latavius Murray. Why not use a guy that's a good running back to run the ball? You know, do the hard yards basically. So
You
I
know,
think it's just smart. Season goes on. We don't want to get Ben to try and get away from the Vikings talk, but you don't want to get to the end of the season and you find that Dalvin Cook's now he's dealing with injuries and it's been a big season, a lot of carries, a lot of, and yet you look at Kamara and he hasn't had the carries, he gets the ball in the open field, he runs out of bounds a lot, he doesn't take the big hits as often.
and come the NFL playoffs, you're not going to be sort of worried about Kamara not being on the park.
Yeah, they're all the things you have to worry about. And Kamara's had a few injuries of late, so they're just playing smart.
Where the Vikings might not have to worry about the playoffs.
No, don't worry.
Dalvin Cook's already booked his holiday for the day after the end of the season.
That's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? Okay, could we get on to my running back?
Yep.
Now, my running back was taken in the 5th round. He was taken in the 2017 draft out of Texas at pick 182. Any ideas?
5th round. What year did you say?
2017.
Same year as Kamara.
Out of Texas. You guys going to spew that you didn't pick this guy up and you leave the 2nd round open for somebody else.
So he's a 2nd round pick, definitely.
No, he's a 5th round pick.
5th round pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. You better just tell us.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Oh, Aaron Jones.
I'm taking Aaron Jones this week up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who give it up 27.6 fantasy points on average per game. They're ranked 27th against the run. Jones is currently the 8th RB. He's averaging, plus I think he's only played 6 games. I think this season.
Yeah, he's had some out.
Yep. Yeah, he's had a couple out. He's averaging 21.3 fantasy points a game.
Yep.
So I'm going to take that in the 5th round, leave my 2nd round wide open for other players. the Jags have allowed 33 plus points in the last 4 games in total. So there's going to be points on the board for Aaron Jones. Jags opponents have accumulated 30 running back touches per game against them.
Yes.
So, and I think Jamal Williams, is he 100%?
I don't think he is, actually.
I don't think he is. And we've got AJ Dillon on COVID.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it could be a big day for Aaron Jones. We saw Duke Johnson last week was a top 8 guy against the Jags. Duke Johnson, I know you're a fan. AJ,
still a fan of Duke. Yep.
You're still a fan, mate. You hang on to that.
He's going to start this week. Duke Johnson's starting.
4 RBs against the Jags have been top 8 this season.
Can I just? I'll just be the negative ninny. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last week was the Thursday night game, wasn't it? Green Bay and the 49ers, where the 49ers were it was a hospital squad. Yeah. And Green Bay got to Aaron Jones was returning from injury, so they were playing it safe with him anyway, granted, right? But the game got out of hand so quickly that they just said, oh, we're just going to put him back in a box. Like, we want to protect him. So Aaron Jones, I don't know, he might have had maybe 12 carries or so. I don't think he had a lot.
Aaron Jones could be the reason that everybody gets put back into a box this week.
Yeah, well, that's true.
This is put together a team based on round, mate. I am taking Aaron Jones a 5th round pick.
That is good.
He's one of the, if not the best. He's averaging, I think, maybe the second highest out of any running back.
Listen, when Green Bay are 28 zip up in the first quarter, then maybe they say to Aaron, hey, listen, you can just go and take it.
After your 3 touchdown, 100 yards, and just go sit over in the corner for a while.
Go and have a mojito and put your legs up.
Real good.
Get a massage.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a good one, G. That is a really...
Maybe the same place that Kraft went to for his massage.
As seen on CNN.
All right, second running back. Ben, go.
Mine's already been taken.
It's an obvious. Oh really?
Cook and Kamara as my 2 running backs.
Where did Cook go? What round?
Cook went 2, Kamara went 3.
You've totally shot your load. So you've gone 1, 2, 3.
I've gone Kyler, 1st round quarterback, Cook, 2nd round, and Alvin Kamara, 3rd round.
Wow.
Go big, go home, boys.
Mate, this is where I had my piece of paper. This is where I had the juggling act, like because of the wide receivers that were in these rounds compared to the running backs.
Yes.
And I wanted the wide receivers, so I had to give on the Kamaras and I took and the Dalvin Cooks because I wanted the receivers for this week.
Yes.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going against me, who's got the number 1 fantasy quarterback and the number 1 and 2 fantasy running back. So let's see how you do, mate.
Yeah. This is something they don't trip over.
Calvin Jones style.
No, like Calvin. Who do you have, AJ? Is your second running back?
Well, I think there's an obvious one. And Neil's with me as well. And I went with James Robinson here. So undrafted. Okay. Undrafted. So he counts as my 7th, doesn't he? 7th round or undrafted free agent. And as I've already mentioned, the Jags are playing the Packers, and they've got the powerhouse, future Hall of Famer Jake Luton under center.
Actually, mate, I watched Jake Luton.
Yeah.
The interception because the ball didn't get there fast enough, and it's just a bad throw. But he doesn't have when I watched Herbert.
Yeah,
mate, Herbert. Dude, the arm on that dude's just phenomenal.
Isn't it good?
Like it's not Josh Allen,
no,
but it's not far behind. Josh Allen throws an absolute serious missile.
Bloody, not many people have the arm of Josh Allen. G.
No, Herbert throws it with ease.
He does. Yeah,
but Luton is a poet when he throws the ball. No, watch the way he throws the ball. Everything's it looks like poetry. Like it doesn't have the power and all that, but just the style of it. Like, I don't know, he's probably like a lot of singers and, artists these days and all that. There's a lot of style and no substance. But, man, it looks beautiful to watch the way he throws the football. And the spiral is tight. Just it's more, he throws it more with touch than get it there in a hurry.
Yes. Yeah.
He does have a little bit when he puts something on it, but not, the big NFL caliber guys. But, mate, beautiful to watch him throw a football. I was mesmerised when he had time. So
Neil suggesting that maybe he's going to be the Falcons quarterback next year.
Okay, so my RB is a 4th round guy. Up against Tampa Bay this week, who given up 21.19 fantasy points. They're ranked 12th against the run. So that's not the greatest. And he's Mike Davis. So with Christian McCaffrey now gone, I thought I'll slip Mike Davis in there. 4th round pick out of South Carolina, drafted by the 49ers at pick 126 overall.
Yep.
Now, he's averaging 14.2 fantasy points per game. And granted, that's average. You got to remember when Christian McCaffrey was there, I should have probably worked out the averages when Christian McCaffrey worked there. I think it'd be a lot higher than 14.2 per game. But a tough matchup on the ground. But yet the Bucks are ranked number 1 on the ground, only giving up 470 yards. But in the passing game, they ranked. They've given up the 6th most air yards.
Really?
And the last time these two teams played each other, McCaffrey and Davis accounted for 13 reception for 103 yards.
Okay.
And we know Mike Davis can catch the ball, no problems at all. He's a very good receiver out the backfield.
He looks very good.
If he gets used in that way as well, no Christian McCaffrey. So I thought, mate, there I can use up a 4th round guy. And let me tell you, I don't know who your 4th round guys are, but there ain't much available in the 4th round, the skill position. I'm leaving up a couple 2nd and 3rd rounds for some very good wide receivers here. So I'm liking the way this is coming together for me. You guys are going to be.
What I love about Mike Davis is, Teddy Bridgewater is, a bit of a check down guy. He's not going to be throwing the ball too much. And if he is, it's a lot of slants. It's a lot of checks. It's a lot of.
He's not a risk taker, Ben.
He's not a risk taker.
That's okay.
And
that's all right.
Last week between McCaffrey and Mike Davis, they had 15 receptions between them last week. So, if he gets anywhere near that, even 10, he's going to have a big PPR day.
Yeah. And you look at Mike Davis currently ranked number 7 amongst running backs. And that's with the games including Christian McCaffrey. So that's how good he is when Christian McCaffrey not there.
That's incredible.
So
that's a winning 4th round pick there, G. I didn't think my 4th round is laughable compared to that, but anyway.
Okay, so wide receivers, Ben, who you got?
All right, so my first wide receiver.
Forward your head.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, right.
I've still got money in the bank, so we'll see.
So G, my wide receiver. Have you used your 5th round pick, G?
Yes. Yeah. Aaron Jones, mate.
Aaron Jones. All right. Yeah, cool. So my 5th round pick is currently the number 4 overall fantasy wide receiver.
Yep.
He leads the league in targets with 91.
He's an ex-Viking.
That's by far.
Have I missed something?
He leads the league in receptions, 63. He leads the league in yardage, 813. He only has 3 touchdowns, but number 1, is sorry, I just lost it a second. Number 1 wide receiver so far this year is, give me one second, Tyreek Hill, followed by Devontae Adams, followed by DK Metcalf, followed by my 5th round pick out of Mississippi State. It's Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills.
The ex-Viking.
Oh, that's it. Did you just drop your mic?
Let's get a little violin out and yep.
Look, I mean, I obviously know Diggs very well from his time.
3 touchdowns looks glaringly obvious when you look at the players that he's around in the wide receiver market, mate. That's glaringly obvious.
But, that volume, G, is nothing to be laughed at. And the Bills gave up a 1st round pick to go get him from the Vikings. Yeah. And everybody knew that looking at the Bills last year, they were missing a number 1 wide receiver. Stephon Diggs is one of the best route runners in the league. Like he can do everything. He can line up everywhere, and he's a guy that can go up and grab a football. And Josh Allen is a guy that will throw it up to grab. Both defensive back and wide receiver have equal opportunity on most throws. So someone like Diggs is just balled out. He loves the contact, loves the competition, and Josh Allen he's always going to be, looking his way, and he gets that Arizona Cardinals defense that we talked about earlier that shipped all those yards to Tua last week. So, very, very happy with Stefon Diggs there as my.
No, don't mind that at all. I like that.
Some might say he's preferable to Aaron Jones, but we'll leave that to the watching.
Okay. So what's his best outing? 20, 29, week 2. And after he's had two weeks of 20. I'm guessing Aaron Jones would easily stick up a 20 this week. No problem.
Well, he could.
He definitely could. He definitely could. But so could Stefon Diggs, and he's got 160 plus fantasy points so far this year. Aaron Jones just 127. So a bit short change there, G.
He's only played 6 games, dude. 2 games behind.
Yeah.
All right, AJ, who have you got?
Well, I actually had in my other wide receiver spot, I did have Stefon Diggs as my 5th rounder.
Okay.
So, but I'll talk about my first wide receiver spot. I did spend a 2nd round pick on a wide receiver. As I alluded to before, you go outside rounds 1 and 2 and it starts to get thin, I tell you, quickly. But Neil put up here that DK Metcalf in the 2nd, which would be an excellent pick, except that I did pick the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy right now, who I think is hard to ignore.
How do you not?
How do you not?
How do you not pick him?
Devontae Adams, who is on absolute fire, 2014 draft. What's that?
How do you not take him?
2014 draft, pick 21 in the 2nd round. And you know what? The dude is amazing.
He's done more in 3 games than most wide receivers do in a whole year.
And you know what? I remember not that many years ago. I mean, how many years has he been in the league? 6, I suppose. I remember not many years ago that there was a buying window, like almost a window where you could almost get him off waivers. Like he was almost down and out, like almost considered a bust. What year would that have been? 2nd year, maybe 3rd year? And since then, he's not looked back.
Mate, he goes up against the Jags this week, mate. They're giving up 38 points. They're ranked 20th against wide receivers. So he's a 53rd overall pick, round 2, out of Fresno State.
Yep.
Mate, look at that draft class. We spoke about this draft class a couple of weeks ago. Watkins, Evans, OBJ, Robinson, Landry, Cooks. Not a bad draft class for wide receivers, is it?
No.
We're not just talking. We're talking. Take Watkins for what he could have been, but Robinson, OBJ, Evans, Landry's been just a PPR machine.
Oh yeah.
And Cooks has been good when Cooks has been good, but mate, in the last 3 games, Adams has 30 catches, 422 yards, 6 TDs. That's 44.6 fantasy points, 30.3 and 33.3 in the last 3 games alone.
It's insane.
He leads the league in red zone targets. The Jags have allowed the 3rd most points per target. So the 2 players this year that have gone over 10 targets against the Jags, and he's going to go over 10 targets, has been Brandon Cooks and Keenan Allen, 161 yards and a touch and 125 yards. I can tell you right now, he's definitely the 161 and 2 looks a lot better than what Brandon Cooks did. He's definitely going more than 125 and no touchdowns that Keenan Allen did.
Oh, so, hell yeah. Yep.
And only once this year has he had under 10 targets.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Sorry, I'm just looking up.
The only thing I will say, because I was well aware that by taking Dalvin Cook,
he's the 2nd, not the 1st, AJ, wide receiver. But anyway. Sorry, what were you saying, Ben?
Yeah. So he does come up against CJ Henderson, who is the Jaguars, 1st round pick.
Yes.
This year, and PFF, he's finished as the top graded cornerback in PFF twice in his first 7 or 8 games or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they've already said he's going to run with Adams. So, it could be
He's going to get a lesson. football, mate.
Yes, he is. He is.
If you see what Xavier Howard did for the Dolphins against DeAndre Hopkins, he had a couple of pass interference calls against him, which, obviously moves the sticks, but doesn't show up on the old fantasy stats. So
you're saying a bit of that going on.
Just a word of warning that it could be, rookies make mistakes, and if he's going to run with him, it could be that there's more flags than receptions this week. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
I must confess that, I play in a few cornerback required leagues, and last week I was, sometimes I get a bit too smart for my own boots, and I thought Emmanuel Mosley, one of the Niners cornerbacks, was playing on Devontae Adams. I thought, man, he's going to... Because Devontae Adams is going to get targeted, as you said, 15 times or whatever. I thought Emmanuel Mosley is going to get a heap of action. And in the first quarter, he did defend this pass. I don't know if you can recall it. I do. It was beautiful. He just got his hand on it and pushed it away. But then it went downhill real fast. It's like trying to hold back the flood, you've got your finger in the dike and you're not... Devontae Adams is too good. You just can't... you can't defend the guy. He's just amazing.
Yeah, it's like 20 holes in the dike. And maybe, the last thing just can't plug that hole.
No, exactly.
Okay,
Ben, second one, because we're going to skip AJ here because he's already...
I've got Diggs, yeah.
He's got Diggs. Who's your second wide receiver?
So my second wide receiver this week, he does have a difficult matchup. He's got the Baltimore Ravens. So it is a bit of a risk. And I originally thought about Adam Thielen here because Adam Thielen is an undrafted free agent. And he could have been an option, but I didn't go for him just simply because of the performance of this guy over the last 2 weeks. So the last 2 weeks alone, he's had 24 targets, 18 receptions for 227 yards. Jacoby Myers of the New England Patriots. And yes, he's got the Ravens, but
the Ravens have been had a few times.
Yeah.
They haven't been exactly unbeatable in the secondary.
Correct. And he's now got I think Myers has the 6th most targets in the NFL over the last 3 weeks. So
wow.
Who else is Cam going to throw to?
No one.
I went blank. I couldn't think of anybody.
Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah.
So,
it's very hard.
They've made a conscious decision to throw this guy the ball. And last time out, he absolutely went off against the Jets. 12 receptions on 14 targets and 160 yards. The only thing he didn't do is score a touchdown. But at that volume for your wide receiver too, you can't turn that down.
Yeah, I like it. And where was he taken in the draft?
Undrafted.
Yeah.
So that's my 7th round pick away. So I'm left with a 4th and a 6th.
That's the same as me, actually. I'm left with a 4th and a 6th.
Tough. Okay, well, I'm going to take a bit of a fly this week, and the guy is at the moment is the number 5 wide receiver in fantasy.
Wow.
And that's Tyler Lockett, who was drafted in the 3rd round. So this is my 3rd round pick, 69th overall. I'm a little bit of a Tyler Lockett fan. Tough matchup this week. Goes up against the Rams, giving up 27.4 fantasy points. They're ranked number 2 against wide receivers. So I'm banking a little bit on the fact that this week he's going to come up against Troy Hill, who has probably been the weakest of the corner. He's plays in the slot. And that's where Diggs plays most of his game. And he's allowed 37 of 50 targets already this season.
Can I give you a hint, G? Sorry to butt in. Troy Hill is a very good fantasy cornerback, which tells you he's a terrible...
Yes, that's even better. So, so he was drafted 3rd round, 69th overall, out of Kansas State. The other one I threw up this week was his oppositional wide receiver, who was also taken in the 3rd round and also at the 69th overall spot, and out of Eastern Washington, and that's Cooper Kupp.
Very nice.
So I threw those 2 up, and you've got Tyler Lockett playing against the best defense against wide receivers, basically, and then you've got Cooper Kupp, who are playing against without a doubt, the worst. They are actually, the Seahawks are giving up more than double the amount of fantasy points to wide receivers than the Rams are. But I'm a big believer in Tyler Lockett. He's had 4 games under 10 fantasy points, granted. He's had 2 games 37 plus with that 203 TD game, 2 games that were 17 and 19.7 respectively. Yeah, look, I could say a few things. He's been outside the top 50 wide receivers 4 out of the last 5 games, but I just think he's sort of due.
Well, like you said, G, that massive day that he had Cardinals, basically, I think the Cardinals put Patrick Peterson on DK Metcalf. Yep. And Russell Wilson just went, all right then, no problem. I'll just pepper Tyler Lockett. So no doubt that Jalen Ramsey will be on DK this week. And like you say, Troy Hill's the perfect guy for Lockett to run around the field, playing catch me if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, against a really good scoring cornerback in fantasy.
He is.
All right, so we move on to the tight end position. Ben, who you got?
Who have we all got? It's the same guy.
Are we all on our 6th round pick here?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Shall we all take a trip to Vegas together?
We should.
The 2015 draft, pick 28.
And what happens there stays there. The wide receiver pick out of the Ravens.
Yeah.
204th overall out of Georgia Tech.
Yeah. Just phenomenal so far. Saw double-digit receptions for the 4th time last week.
You see the TD pass?
Yeah.
Like that ball traveling from short distance, and he just plucked that thing straight out of the air. No problems.
Yeah, and he's not like he doesn't. Usually what you look for in your tight end, unless you've got your Kelsey or your Kittle or whatever, is the guy who's gonna make a big play. You're looking at a TD every other week, 50, 60 yards. That's probably what you're looking at for a sort of mid-round tight end. This guy is just volume. I mean, we talked about the absence of a number 1 receiver. You can pretty much say that about the Raiders. They haven't really got a guy who's going to, put up, much like the Niners with George Kittle. Waller's the guy that they use, down the middle of the field, in the red zone, got great hands, athletic ability, amazing. Was a
71 targets already this year in 8 games, Ben, for a tight end.
Oh,
yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Bit soft in fantasy drafts, I thought, at the start of the year. People weren't really, they were a little bit down on him because of his big year. They doubted that he was going to continue that. But, he's got
he had a bit of history.
He had a bit of history. But when Gruden loves someone, he's just going to feed them, right? So he, gives him every opportunity he gets. I was looking actually, at that position basically. So, tight end, it's not, it's not surprising. Like, usually there's a few surprises in a lot of leagues. But, number 1 fantasy scoring, tight end this year is Travis Kelce. So, not a surprise there.
By a long way, yeah.
And then you go on from that, you've got, let's have a look, Mark Andrews, obviously. Darren Waller is number 2. So, 5 bar. Second, Hopkinson, Smith, Kittle's missed a few games. He will be up there. Hurst, Andrews, and then Jimmy Graham. So, but from, Darren Waller, 111 fantasy points. Only trails Kelce in targets and receptions. But yeah, I mean, just for a 6th round pick, mate. What are we talking about? I didn't even look past. As soon as I saw him, there's nobody else.
Yeah, and look, he's up against the Broncos this week, and the Broncos have given 80% of all the targets that got on tight ends have been caught.
Do you know what struck me? How many tight ends are 1st round picks? There's a lot of them.
Yes.
I didn't even look at the top. Didn't even go down to the tight ends in the first rounds because I knew as soon as we started doing this, where Darren Waller was taken.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even going to bother about looking at tight ends. So,
but for this process, if you were going to take a tight end, I think Jonnu Smith was a guy. I mean, he played today already, so I couldn't really pick him. But he was a third round guy, so he was a thought. But everybody else, Hopkinson, except they're all first round, second round picks. So you're giving away a big pick on your tight end. No?
Yeah, I'm not doing it. No. That's fine. So that leaves us with the last position overall, and that's our flex spot. So that'll bring us into a 7-rounder, including undrafted.
Well, mine's a 4th rounder. I'm deeply unhappy with it. Who was your 4th rounder, G? Your 4th rounder was so much better. I might pinch him. Who did you have?
That's a good question. Who was my 4th? Mike Davis.
Oh, see, that's infinitely better than my pick. But see, I did what you like, as you said. The first 2 rounds especially, but then you go to round 3. When you get to round 4, Andrew's got a post up here as well. Round 4 is tough.
If McCaffrey was playing, he wouldn't be my 4th round pick. I would have been looking somewhere else.
McCaffrey?
No, if McCaffrey was playing this week.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Wouldn't have been my 4th round pick.
Yes, that makes sense. I did consider Chase Edmonds. Neil was just saying Chase Edmonds would be his pick. I put in there Josh Reynolds. Which is terrible. It's a terrible.
That's a terrible pick.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm telling you, it's a terrible pick.
Motivation.
What's that?
By the end.
Yeah, well, I see. This is where it almost feels like we've done like a DFS lineup, right? And if you play, I don't play a lot of DFS. I don't play it really at all. I have played it before, but when you go and you do that sort of daily lineup, right, and you're using all your points, and you get to the end and you think, oof. My points are not buying me anyone very good here, then that's sometimes when you go back and you revisit and you rejuggle, which I think you've really done very well, G, with your, albeit not very technological methods, but you have certainly done a good job of that. But yeah, $1 left. You're saying $1 left. Yeah, that's what I felt like I had. And I probably should have at that point thought, now hang on, Josh Reynolds is a terrible pick here. I really kind of need to have a think about how I can redistribute this whole thing. Anyway.
Because you probably only did it 5 minutes before we came on.
Yeah, that's also quite accurate. So, yeah.
Who'd you have?
Well, just to make you feel a little bit better here, AJ, I was doing an article in the week at Start Sit, article.
Oh, yeah.
And I had the Rams, and I put Josh Reynolds as a sneaky flex start. So, he's a guy who I think is a little bit underrated. Like he's not, he's a guy who's sort of always been there but never quite done anything. But I think it was 8 targets 2 weeks ago, 9 targets last week.
Yeah.
Two TDs in his last 3 games. So it's not a terrible pick. Like I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
See, Van Jefferson hasn't arrived yet. We were a bit early to crown him anything. And Tyler Higbee's not Tyler Higbee this year either.
No. Gerald Everett's just eclipsed him, hasn't he, this year?
Yeah, he has. I think it's probably scheme dependent. They're probably using him for blocking and things. But anyway, I mean, you really have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and then Josh Reynolds probably.
Yeah. So there was only one better pick in the 4th round than Mike Davis. And he's the guy who goes up against the team that gives away the most fantasy points to running back in the league.
Ooh, I don't know.
Out of Memphis, Riverboat Ron is going to ride Antonio Gibson into the win this week.
I don't think he's playing.
He's up against the Lions.
Is he playing?
Is he playing?
Got a bit of a tight shoulder. He's expected to suit up.
I think it's McKissick time. Hashtag McKissick time.
I think we can see plenty of Antonio Gibson. I did have Mike Davis as my if not playing.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Gibson, who has looked fantastic, really, in a pretty average offense with a different quarterback with a different injury every week.
Yeah.
So he's looked good, and he's looked like a guy who, whether they go out and get another running back or not.
Neil said he's drafted in the 3rd. Here we go.
Really?
Oh, controversy.
No way. It was a 4th-round pick.
Really?
Yeah. Look, da-da-da-da-da.
Don't believe Neil. He's just... Mate,
Okay, hang on.
you, I don't know how we even...
I can check. I can check.
How do you...
I might have but I think I'm just looking now. I can't remember. I think it was the
3rd.
4th round.
Second pick in the 3rd round.
Oh,
There you go. You know what? He was. When I was looking, I must have just flicked up a little bit too high.
I'll pop in Josh Reynolds.
No. I originally had Mike Davis. I'll go with that. But I tell you what, the 4th round was an absolute.
no, mate. You're not taking Mike Davis. I'll take him now. Neil,
yeah,
done something right for a change. Well done, dude.
I mean, the one that I did want to say, and I was going to try sneak past you as well, was Nyheim Hines. You know, so he was a 4th-round pick, but he'd already played and went for 2 touchdowns in summer, so I couldn't really try swindle that with you guys. So.
No.
He's probably the 4th-round play this week.
Okay, so AJ had Reynolds. Ben had someone who's ineligible. We're doing pretty well. So my flex spot is obvious, undrafted. We've already spoke about him. Mate, James Robinson in my flex spot. How good's that? I've rounded this out beautifully. Up against Green Bay. Ranked 31st against the run. They're terrible against the run. He was number 4th on the depth chart at one stage, and then we all knew what happened. We've all seen what happened in Jackson, Leonard Fournette and whatnot. So he's the 4th running back in fantasy at the moment, averaging 18.7 fantasy points a game. Hasn't been under 10 fantasy points all season, and his high watermark was 30.9. The Packers have allowed the most production to running backs than anybody else. They have allowed 11 TDs to running backs on the ground, which is the worst in the NFL, and a total of 15 to running backs, which is also equal the worst in the league with the Lions. So
good work.
So even when they're going to be trailing, which is probably likely against Green Bay, the fact that he catches the ball so well out of the backfield as well, which he's done all season, it's not going to diminish his play on the field. So
quite true.
That's my undrafted, and that's my team done.
Good work.
I did like my team.
I like your team too.
Ben came out with Kamara, and so he's putting a lot of chips on on 2 players this week.
Even by leaving my flex position on bye, like our starters only league that we've got, I'm pretty sure that I can match you, G, even with my flex spot on bye. So we'll see how that goes up.
We will see.
Okay.
Andrew mentioned Robbie Anderson, also undrafted, which is a great pick. That's a good pick.
Adam Thielen as well. Adam Thielen's a good.
He's not having such a good year, Adam Thielen. Well, the Vikings aren't having such a good year, apart from Dalvin Cook.
Someone please tell me, where do you find the undrafted players on the internet?
Well, I looked at Wikipedia and go to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And then it's player selections, and then underneath it says notable undrafted players.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it gave you kind of maybe like 10 from each year.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I used the Pro Football Reference, really good. But I don't know, I can't find anywhere where they actually give you, they stop at the end of the draft.
Right. Okay.
They give you all the draft list. And then once it gets down to, pick 254, bang, that's it. Don't worry about undrafted players.
All right.
Anyway,
well, listen.
There we go.
Big thanks to Andrew for suggesting that topic. That was fun, and
good.
It certainly did.
For a while.
I mean, look, we all hear around draft time. We all hear the statistics around the success rates of players taken in certain rounds. But when you go through the top fantasy players at each position, it's blindingly obvious how many of them are from the top rounds.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Without a doubt. Skill position anyway.
And then surely that's got to inform what you do as a dynasty fantasy player. Like, players that were picked in the 4th round or later, like, honestly, the chances of them hitting are remote. What?
We should do next week. We should do the reverse. We pick the worst players.
The worst?
The worst players.
How does that work? The worst?
Just players that suck.
Next weekend's game, yeah?
Sorry?
They have to be playing in next weekend's game.
Yes.
And you've got it. So basically.
Oh, you have to pick like a first rounder. It has to be a first rounder.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
In each position. Yeah.
Eric Ebron was a first round pick, right? Actually, he's not playing too bad at the moment. Yeah. But he's with the Steelers, isn't he? So that makes sense. Okay. Well, listen, I really enjoyed that, and hope you enjoyed listening to that and sort of doing it yourselves, gents, because that was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's a good idea. Go for the worst. That would be an interesting exercise.
AJ, I've started the work. I haven't finished it yet, but I've gone back and got all our teams from since we started this about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I'm trying to total up the fantasy points for each week.
Well, I did ask AJ to send me the teams, and he hasn't done it to me, so I've sort of.
So I know that a few of the listeners, like Andrew, Neil, etc., have actually gone and done it themselves and have posted in the channel as well. So I'll try include as many of those as possible. But maybe I'll send you some info, AJ, and you can tweet or message people that we might be missing for weeks.
Nice. That's great. Okay. Excellent.
Am I on top?
Nah.
No? Okay.
Don't give it away.
I know. In one league, I'm in 9, doing real well. I was zipping 8.
Oh, yeah. Well, Scott Fishbowl, I think I might be. I actually.
Don't worry about it. The one I actually invented is the one I suck at the most.
How is it, G, that in that league you haven't won a single game? I don't understand that.
Well, I've sort of stopped. I've sort of after the last 2 weeks, I'm not going to go on because I'm not even going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't think it's fair. I go and take players and put good players for other people to go and grab that are on my team.
That's very nice of you. You often see that is a bit of a pet hate of ours, isn't it? The people who are at the bottom of leagues who are grinding on the waiver wire for players who, not players that have a lot of dynasty value, just, they're just spending their bucks and picking up players, and it's like, well, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, G, that league's on Flea Flicker, and
yes.
We're all in it. And so is Memphis. And shout out to Memphis because you're there, G, logging on every day. Moves, 28 moves a week, all that kind of stuff, trying to get the team right. Memphis was inactive for the first 4 weeks. He didn't change his lineup and finished 4-0. So
I think he might be getting kicked out. I'd have to have a quiet word.
Ways, right? It goes both ways.
He hasn't been super engaged.
You need to leave the place to do it,
And we got Kyle from Fantasy Smackdown. He's doing pretty well too. I think he's going to have an easy win this week. He's up against me, so just rest your players this week, mate. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, we were talking about Lamar Jackson earlier. In that league, I traded Lamar Jackson to Kyle for, I think it was Terry McLaurin or something like that, and picked up Justin Herbert on waivers.
Oh,
perfect.
That's lovely.
Won 3 out of the last 4 because of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, okay, Andrew. And we'll wrap it up. Andrew Razors, will we see us in studio show soon? Yeah, we might. Hey, because Melbourne's been 0 for a good number of consecutive days at this stage.
10 days, whatever.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
fantastic.
see you next week, AJ.
What's that?
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, you may well. Well, that would be fantastic. Well, yeah, we'll keep you posted. Anyway, this has gone on quite a long time, but it's been fun, as it always is.
How's the stopwatch doing, G?
No.
It's just stuck on 5.
AJ ignored it as soon as I put it up.
Drinks of the pod. I don't know if we did drinks. I was having a gin before, but I'm way past that now. What's that?
Gin. Yeah, gin and tea.
Oh, very nice. Ah, nice.
When we get back in the studio, we'll get them together.
Yeah, we will. That sounds good. Well, we have to make it a bit of a celebration if we're back in the studio. We have to kind of make a big deal of it. Yeah. How long has it been since we did a studio show?
4 months.
Yeah. Well, actually, we did do one for Scott Fish, didn't we?
Yes, that's about it.
That's about it. So, anyway.
haven't been allowed over since.
That's right. So, yeah. Anyway, let's wrap this up and let people, go to bed probably. Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say, do something with your Friday night, but we're not in that zone anymore. Those times have passed us by. But
a long time ago.
A long time ago. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Hope you are enjoying NFL season and your team's going well, etc. And, I was thinking it's about time I did my run home. My highly successful, highly requested run home players. Gee.
Yes, that'd be good. And on behalf of Ben, AJ, and myself, we'll catch you next time.
Yay!
There you go. Up like that.
There you go. Fantastic. You've done it. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time.